Welcome to Impact and Influence, the podcast for current and emerging leaders to build on leadership capability, sustainability, and purpose. This series opens the door to what's possible to build a life in leadership by design, not by default. Brought to you by Regrowth Consultancy, powered by Flick It Over. Flick It Over is a leading electronic software platform. Flick It Over provides industry-specific solutions to improve process, client experience, and efficiencies. Make your document delivery and workflow seamless with Flick It Over.
Today's guest is Kahlia from Cordony. Kahlia, thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
It's very exciting to always have someone from outside of the real estate space join us and have a conversation around the evolution of your brand and your leadership journey and what you do. Now, you're no stranger to real estate, though.
Not at all.
Can you give our listeners an overview of who you are, what your brand is, and how you're connected to real estate?
Actually, it all started, I was in real estate a long time ago. I think it was like straight out of school.
Yeah.
And, you know, the kind of, you start from reception and then you move into your property management and then you move into your sales associate roles. And at the time I was actually studying architectural technology. So my background is, you know, construction and drafting and design.
Yeah, wow.
And whilst I was going through, I guess, the 5 years that I was in real estate, I was also doing my interior design course. I ended up being, you know, getting my license for real estate. So I am a licensed real estate agent. I like to keep my ear to the ground as well. So I do tend to come to a lot of your conferences and obviously be part of, you know, yours. But it's really helpful for me because then it allows us to understand what is needed from us as a service and the value add in the real estate process, I suppose, in getting a house ready for sale or even for lease as well. So background's real estate, passion's design and being able to, and construction really.
Yeah.
And then I just kind of married the two together and it became Cordony.
Which is like in a nutshell a property styling business, but I know that there's more to it than just, you know, going in and making the house pretty.
Well, absolutely. I think, look, styling wasn't where I started. It was actually getting houses ready for sale. And so we would subcontract out our styling to another styling company or a few different styling companies. And I guess by that point I'd worked 2 to 3 weeks getting the house ready. So that's flooring, getting the painting done,
project management,
all the project management, and that's my passion really. And then it was like, oh god, this styling doesn't look very good. Like, let me just add it. And it was just buying, you know, one piece at a time and kind of getting that all together, or houses at a time, I should say. And that's when I guess styling became a full arm for us. Yeah. And over time we became quite known with, you know, with the styling really. And I think I still get it now that a lot of people are really surprised to know that I actually do way more than that. Yeah. And my, you know, that's my professional experience is actually making more money out of people's homes, not for me, but for them.
For them, of course. Yeah. And it's that value add. And we talk at Regrowth always about the client experience and what are those memorable moments and how do you add value? And that's essentially what you're helping our industry do for our clients.
Yeah, exactly. So that's what I'm here for. And to try and make the job a little bit easier as well. And sort of, I guess sometimes even the questions around, you know, when you're sort of sitting with mum and dad at the appraisal table and it's kind of, what do we need to do? That's where I sort of am brought in from with our agents, and they sort of say, well, what is it that we need to do to prepare it, to get it ready and to make the most out of the sale.
So you're part of the listing presentation.
Yeah. I've spent a lot of hours around that table. Yeah. Yeah.
That's a huge part of it because, I mean, we've spoken to our auctioneer that we partner with around how she gets involved in the sale as, you know, partnering with a business to, you know, she's not part of the team, but she's definitely a partner in the business and how she adds value. And essentially you're doing exactly the same thing, just at a different stage.
Correct. Yeah.
In that listing presentation of, you know, as an agent, don't just hear it from me.
Yes.
Hear from the expert. Yep. So bringing that team of experts in to into your toolkit, I guess, as an agent to help you in business.
Yeah, exactly. So that's where we come in. Yeah.
What does your business look like?
In terms of?
Well, like
it's chaotic.
Chaotic, I can imagine.
It's a logistical nightmare.
But how many people in your business? Like, it's obviously grown from just you.
It has. And look, I've been in business now for 16 years and we've gone through all the ups and downs. I've gone through, you know, having people, over 30 people in the team, to now we're really concentrated on making it nice and lean and sort of focusing on, I guess, more the we don't want to be the biggest and baddest anymore.
Yep.
And that's the difference between, I guess, going through business yourself and kind of even working with your own ego around all of that, which I think is a massive thing, and personal development for yourself as well. So, yeah, I kind of was like, oh, yeah, all these people. And then it's like, but that's just so chaotic and it's a lot to deal with and there's a lot to manage. So now we keep it really nice and lean and really focus in on who we really need on the team. Rather than just kind of going, I've got 30 people sort of thing.
Yeah, it's not about the number, is it? That
not at all. It's
success.
equality right now. Yes, exactly. And like I said, personal development around that during business over the 16 years to kind of understand it's not that important.
Yeah.
Or, it's not that as shiny, I suppose, to have more people on board.
Yeah, absolutely. What are your biggest lessons beside that one? What are your other biggest lessons in leadership that you've learned as a business owner and leading that team of, up to 30 people?
Yeah. Well, I think we're looked at, in terms of, what's the word for it? I suppose like we need to look to be the most stable within the business when things are kind of going a little bit shaky or the market's a little bit funny or you're not getting as many styling components kind of coming in or quotes coming in, and they sort of look to you to see, okay, is she nervous? Is she okay? That I wouldn't even say okay, but I'd say like, is she nervous? What's the reaction we're getting out of her? And you've really got to kind of sort of sit on this stable playing field, I find.
Absolutely.
And everything might be kicking around underneath or in your brain, but you kind of got to kind of come to the table and go, okay, well, this is where we're at. These are solutions. This is how we want to address that sort of thing. And that you kind of have to get rid of all the noise.
Yeah.
To be able to lead a team, I think, to a high performance.
Yeah. And it can be really hard, because your business is determined by the market of,
absolutely,
like our market.
Yes.
Which, at the moment we're going through, a shift in the market and we call it recalibrating markets. Yeah. But as a leader, seeing that calm demeanor sets the tone for your team, doesn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think what we like to do a lot of, or what I like to do a lot of, is really come to these conferences and understand what are the agents being told, what are the services that are kind of out there, how do we help and how do we shift and adjust to make them feel a little bit more comfortable too, because as we've seen in the last year, I think last year was our quietest year, and I think that's for the whole styling industry, from what I understand and speaking to some of my industry colleagues. But just sort of understanding what's going on and being able to sort of educate also your team members as to what that shift is.
Yeah.
Because when you kind of go from like 5 installs to a day to 1 install a day, for instance, or less projects coming through, they're going, oh, it's like, what's going on here?
Is this okay?
Yeah, is this
okay?
Do I have exactly? And it's really interesting.
And so do you, you obviously attend the conferences, which I think is, fantastic, because obviously what we do is all about, learning and self-development and improvement. How do you instill that into your team? Do they go to the conferences as well?
I do encourage them to go. There's been a number of times where I've said, here are the seats, go take them, because I think it's really important. And I think it's really, there's not as many people in our industry that probably have the real estate background that we do. They might have more of a design background. And that is just as important as being able to karate chop those cushions so perfectly. So it's really understanding, because you are dealing with stressed clients when you walk into their homes. They're all selling for a reason, whether it's good or bad. And it is generally their biggest asset. So everything's on the line. And when it comes down to styling, it's like that last, the cherry on top before the photos are taken and all that sort of happens. And that's got to be seen to be as perfect as possibly can be.
Yeah.
And we are dealing with highly strung people at that point in time, face to face in the home. You're coming into a nest as well. So, as a female in the home, generally you've got to tread very carefully around. It's not that I don't like what you've done to their house, it's that we need to get it prepared for the broader market and create some competition.
So you're very good at giving feedback to people.
Yeah. And it's more an educational angle than it is I don't like that. And it's actually never about whether I like it or not. I'm sort of saying we need to resolve this room. It needs to be an extra bedroom because there's more value in a bedroom, or, the psychology around why we don't do a study versus a bedroom. because all they can see is that room's only big enough or small enough for a study. So things like that. Yeah, it's really fascinating. It's actually, there's way more to styling and to preparing your house for sale than just it being really pretty.
Oh, I bet there is.
Yes, yeah.
I bet there is. But you've also got the, when you think about it, your client is not just the vendor, but also the agent, isn't it?
Yeah.
So you're managing.
We've all got to be on the same playing field, and we're managing all those different types of personalities.
Yes.
Yeah.
I was about to say, what is the biggest challenge there? And you answered the question before I asked it.
Yes.
Obviously, with that piece, you would have a level of standard that you have, and I've seen your styling and I've seen like what you do, and it is perfection all the time. And we're
it looks
probably
that way at the end. But
we're probably the worst client because we're just like, that looks okay, and you're like, no, it's got to be perfect. How do you maintain standards across your team when you're not there I'm assuming you're not there at every site and not always there. So how do you maintain that level of standard within your business?
Well, I think making sure that you've got the people who are aligned in the quality that you're putting out there. It's not sort of just just sort of drop furniture and see you later. And that's the difference between us and some other styling companies where it's like, okay, we're dropping the furniture for 6 weeks. We'll see you in 6 weeks. Ours is an experience that we're looking at. So it's really making sure that the team that understands that that's what's, being created. So we have little touches like candles, a little note to say good luck, like things like that are just sort of touch point. And I think them knowing the standard that's created there, but also understanding that we are helping people move on to another chapter.
Yeah.
And if they're not aligned with that and, they're like, oh, it's 3:00, it's time to go home. That's not who I want in my team. Yeah. It's about, okay, well, how do I help the people that we're helping today? And making sure that little extra, pointer is done. So we're not the same as other styling companies. But that's just the way that, I've been in the backgrounds. I've been at the appraisals. I've been, in that process behind the scenes with the agents kind of going, okay, these are all the things that we need to make sure to also help sign up, a listing. But all those sort of 1%ers add up to being able to convert.
You're that, I suppose the way I look at it is you are that really final touch point of the client experience, aren't you?
Yeah, absolutely. And yes.
Because even though the agents, done their job, but that's what people remember is the candle and the handwritten note and all those little elements, even though you're not part of the one brand.
Yes.
It's still part of the agent's client experience, isn't it?
Exactly. And that's, I think, why we find there's different levels of agents in terms of being really quite new to the industry and the ones that have sort of been there for quite a long time and just really understand that it's not about just putting a signboard up at the front. It's about the process in which we get your house ready for sale and the experience both then and afterwards as well. And I can tell you things can go wrong every single day.
Of course.
Like we have, 5 different variables that happen before we even leave, the driveway in the morning. And sometimes we're late and sometimes things don't work out and people don't turn up to work and all those things still happen to us and we're moving furniture all day. A typical person probably doesn't move homes, maybe 10 to 15 years,
Absolutely.
maybe something like that.
Yeah.
So we're trying to do that on a daily basis and we try and do it as best as we possibly can, but Sydney traffic, weather, and things like that happen. So we try and do the best that we can and try to make it as stressless? Yeah. Yes. Stressless as possible.
Yes. Yeah. Easier said than done at times. So
absolutely.
How do you, if new to industry, what could a new agent do to help their vendor and align with you sooner? I suppose is my question.
Okay.
What do you wish that they would do differently?
I think they just need to sort of look at it as a holistic point of view. I think there's still a little bit of stigma around the fact that it's a big investment to make before the sale, plus all your marketing and all that sort of stuff. So I think it's the first, like last year, I was going back to what we were saying before, but last year we were probably the first thing to come off the list to list a property. And it was, that's way too expensive. We don't have the cash flow to do that. Now there's funding facilities that are able to help with that. And there's some really great ones out there on the marketplace. But I think just looking at it holistically and kind of going, this is an investment. Don't be scared to let the client know that is worth the value that you're sort of recommending, because they'll get they'll see it on the other side.
Yeah. Understand the value, I suppose, because if you don't believe in it, it's hard to sell, isn't it?
Correct. Yeah, because as soon as they start to see you shake, then how do they have any confidence in the campaign that's been put forward, right? So we see a lot of agents kind of come to us, so-and-so down the road or the other stylist is given 3 months free and you're only giving 6. And it's like, I completely understand that, but what is the message that you are giving to your client if you're saying that we need 12 weeks when you've sat at the table saying the campaign's only 5 weeks, like a 4-week auction campaign. So you're kind of giving 2 messages off, and I understand that you kind of wanting to make sure in this market where it's a little bit longer, but I think you've got to really be careful with what message you're sending across when you're not believing in your own process and your formula. Yeah. So I think that's the biggest thing that I would recommend, around that is really being confident with what your service is.
Absolutely. And I think that's, I won't go down the path of overcoming objections and handling your fee and all those sorts of things, because I'll get onto a totally different tangent. But it aligns to that, doesn't it? Absolutely. Because if if you don't believe in your fee and you don't believe in the service and you don't believe in the auction method, or, if that's that's clearly my preferred method of sale. Same with that value add of styling the home and all those little things. It's the big picture, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Awesome. Yeah. In your career, either, as a business owner or not, what is one thing that you wish you knew earlier on?
Oh, there's so many things.
Pick a few if you would like to.
I think really, this is kind of in so many different ways, but I think really understanding your gut feelings. It generally sort of gives you a little bit of an indication whether you're doing something right or wrong, or uncertainty, and maybe just sit with that for a bit until you've got some clarity. Where I'm going to with that is making sure that you've got a good advisory board behind you, because for instance, I'm good at making sales and I'm good at sort of, increasing value in property, but I'm not good at the accounting side of things.
Yes.
So someone making sure that you've actually got someone who's giving you the right information and doing the right things for you, I think is a really big thing. Yeah. Because you could be doing everything right on the front foot, but if that's not right, it can actually completely, mess things up for you, and you sort of have to look at making a smaller team or whatever it might be. I think that's probably my biggest one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Final piece of advice for someone wanting to start out in business.
I reckon just go for it. I think it is a very rewarding thing, whether you fail a couple of times either beforehand, during it, or afterwards. I think it's just, really rewarding, and anyone who's sort of looking at doing it probably has something in them, whether, entrepreneurship, or I always say that I definitely have ADHD because I can't sit still and I don't like being told what to do. So those sorts of things, I think, just go for it, give it a go. But you'll also understand, you'll feel when it's the right time to do it as well, kind of get all your ducks in line. They don't have to be perfectly in line. Yes. I think that's the other thing, just start somewhere, and then nothing ever has to be perfectly in line before you give something a go.
Great piece of advice. Yeah. Thank you so much for joining us.
That's all right. Thank you. Thanks so much.
Thanks for joining us on this episode of Impact and Influence. Click follow to get notified about future episodes. Leaving a review helps others find the podcast. And to learn more about our courses, our study tours, conferences, keynote topics and our services, or how simply we might be able to help support you in taking you to places you never thought possible, please visit regrowthkyliewalsh.com. Impact and Influence, brought to you by Regrowth Consultancy, powered by Flick It Over. Flick It Over is a leading electronic software platform. Flick It Over provides industry-specific solutions to improve process, client experience and efficiencies. Make your document delivery and workflow seamless with Flick It Over.